This week, though they walk the red carpets, provide the soundtrack to our lives, and lead our teams to victory, when it comes to facing the law in New York City, history shows us that even the most famous faces sometimes must face the music. Right now, Fox 5's Crime in the City, Celebrity Scandals. We begin this week at the Chelsea Hotel in 1978, and the beginning of the end for a notorious rock star.
John Ritchie, the punk rock star who called himself Sid Vicious, is described to us as a very depressed man who was taking methadone, extremely upset over the bust-up of his spitting, vomiting, and stomping rock group called the Sex Pistols. He's in jail here tonight after being arrested for the stabbing murder of his 20-year-old girlfriend. With some background on the couple and today's developments, Anthony Preisendorf.
Sid Vicious looked pretty tame when the police led him away to jail. Spike-haired, 21-year-old British punk rock star said nothing as he was taken out of the 17th precinct after being booked for the fatal stabbing of his girlfriend, Nancy Laura Spungen. He was just as passive this afternoon when he was arraigned in criminal court for the girl's murder and held in $50,000 bail. With members of his new band looking on, the slightly incoherent guitarist sat with his head bowed as he heard the charges that John Simon Ritchie, the performer's real name, did repeatedly and willfully stab Miss Spungen in the abdomen with a hunting knife. The Hotel Chelsea was the scene of the murder. The couple, registered as Mr. and Mrs., moved into a one-room apartment on the second floor last August. From all outward appearances, according to the hotel's manager, they were a couple of lovebirds.
They were loners. They were quiet people. Very few people, even in the hotel, knew about their existence. They would come into my office about 2 o'clock every day to sign a voucher for some money. And then they would go out and wouldn't return until 2, 3 in the morning. That's why very few people knew them.
Did they ever quarrel?
No, they were really very much in love, or I thought so. And they were very pleasant, nice people. She kept talking about his old agent in London that she'd had difficulty with. And they were going to go back to London to get monies owed to them.
A member of the musical backup group that Sid Vicious starred in after his group, the Sex Pistols, broke up, described Vicious as a nice kid, but very depressed. Everybody takes punk rock too seriously, the musician said. It's just showbiz.
Vicious was arrested and charged with second-degree murder, but died of a heroin overdose before his trial. The case remains unsolved. Moving ahead to August of 1989, the so-called Queen of Mean gets a rude awakening in a New York courtroom.
Leona Helmsley looked grim and almost dazed as she gripped the hand of her chief bodyguard. Her own attorney had once urged the jury not to convict his client because she's unpopular. In that, the government agreed. Convict Leona Helmsley only if you find her guilty. The jury did. Of tax evasion, conspiracy to cheat the IRS, and filing false returns. It's a long way off from the splendor of her hotels and from the glitzy lifestyle she has led with her husband, Harry.
Today's guilty verdicts should widely serve as a reminder that no one, regardless of how wealthy or how well insulated by underlings, is free to flaunt the tax laws.
It was 26-year-old Alvin Taylor, a postal clerk, who solemnly delivered the verdict. In all, he read 33 guilties for Leona Helmsley and for her co-defendants. Afterwards, he told us,
gave my fair and honest judgment on what was asked of me. I filled my requirement as a juror of being fair and impartial, and I feel very good about it.
This jury took a great deal of time analyzing the evidence, analyzed it carefully, and followed the request that we made in our summations, both Ms. Seibel and I, that they decide this case on the basis of the evidence presented to them, not on the basis of personality, not on the basis of any prejudice or bias.
The defense, led by Gerald Pfeffer, had insisted all along that Helmsley and her co-defendants did nothing wrong by writing off millions of dollars of personal expenses at her Connecticut mansion as business expenses. The jury, 6 men, 6 women, didn't buy it. And hundreds of phony bills provided by the government sealed the defendant's fate. And so the curtain has fallen on what one courtgoer has called the Broadway show of the season. Leona Helmsley has suffered a stunning defeat at the hands of 12 working-class jurors who deliberated long and hard. She faces fines of up to $8 million and a jail term of up to 5 years. She and her co-defendants will be sentenced here November the 14th.
Helmsley's 16-year sentence was eventually reduced when all but 8 of the convictions were dropped. She was released from custody in January of 1994 after serving 21 months. In November of 1993, one of history's most infamous rappers finds himself back in trouble with the law.
Well, a famous rap singer faces some serious charges. Lynn White is in our newsroom, and she has the latest on that story. Lynn?
That's right, Lynn. Tupac Shakur was sporting a scar or a wound on his right temple as he was hauled off to central booking this morning. The controversial rap star in trouble with the law again. This time he's been arrested in connection with a sexual assault.
I look guilty.
That's what Tupac Shakur had to say once whisked inside a police van in handcuffs from the Midtown North Precinct to central booking. The controversial 22-year-old rap star was one of 3 people accused of holding down a 20-year-old woman in his Parker Meridian hotel room. It happened last night while another man, Tupac's friend, allegedly sodomized her.
Are you guilty?
Hell nah. Do I look guilty to you?
The young woman involved in the attack allegedly ran to the hotel security when the assault was over. Tupac was arrested after 11 o'clock, along with Ricardo Brown of Florida and Charles Fuller of California. All 3 were charged with forcible sodomy and unlawful imprisonment.
Are you disappointed in your fans?
I'm very disappointed, but they're going to support me.
Shakur, who played opposite Janet Jackson in the movie Poetic Justice, is no stranger to police. Just 3 weeks ago, he was arrested in Atlanta. He was charged with aggravated assault for shooting 2 off-duty police officers after a traffic dispute. He was released on $55,000 bond.
The jury eventually found Shakur not guilty of sodomy and related charges. However, he was convicted of 2 counts of first-degree sexual assault. His aggravated assault charges in Atlanta were later dropped. Now to 2008, a night at a New York City club sends shockwaves through a soaring sports career.
Investigators probing the cover-up after Plaxico Burress accidentally shot himself in the leg want answers. Burress's teammate, Antonio Pierce, spoke with the DA's office, but what was said is not being revealed tonight. Now, Pierce was the one who was with Burress at the Latin Quarter nightclub when Burress reached for his gun and accidentally pulled the trigger. Sources are telling Fox 5 tonight that the NFL never contacted a high-ranking police official to report the shooting, as it had claimed. Sources are also telling Fox 5 that police found out about the shooting after hearing it on the news, and that it was about 11 hours after the shooting that the NFL reached out to a lieutenant, not a high-ranking official, and not to officially report the incident. In the meantime, Mayor Bloomberg tonight is still pushing for the DA to enforce a 3.5-year minimum prison sentence for Burress for carrying a gun without a legal permit.
I'm not picking on Plaxico. I don't know if I've even met the guy who made a great catch. Thank you very much. We love it. Hope the Giants will win I hope that my dream is a Giants-Jets Super Bowl, in which case I'd root for New York. But, you know, the bottom line is the law should apply to everyone. It's even worse. Take a gun into a crowded nightclub where people drink and push each other around because of just the density of people there. You know, there's a penalty.
Burress faced charges of illegal gun possession, but ultimately avoided trial by pleading guilty to a lesser weapons charge. He served 22 months in prison. Fast forwarding to 2020, after years of accusations, a once Hollywood titan finally faces his reckoning.
Harvey Weinstein appeared shocked in court as that jury found him guilty on 2 of the 5 charges he was facing, and even more surprised when the judge ordered him held without bail. Now, despite the split verdict, Manhattan DA Cyrus Vance is praising the outcome of this case. Once again, 67-year-old former movie mogul Harvey Weinstein used a walker to get into Manhattan criminal court for the 5th day of deliberations, and he never got to go home. Judge James Burke ordered him remanded after a jury of 7 men and 5 women found him guilty of third-degree rape of Jessica Mann and first-degree criminal sexual act of Mimi Haley. Despite his acquittal on the 3 most serious charges, Manhattan DA Cyrus Vance says it was a landmark decision for women.
Weinstein is a vicious serial sexual predator who used his power to threaten, rape, assault, trick, humiliate, and silence his victims.
With lead prosecutor Jonah Luzzi on his right, Vance praised her work and the courage of the victims who spoke out, despite controversial and conflicting views of the allegations.
It's rape despite the complicated dynamics of power and consent after an assault. It's rape even if there is no physical evidence, and even if it happened a long time ago.
Weinstein's defense team pleaded with a judge to allow him to remain free on his existing $2 million bail package due to a variety of medical conditions. But Judge James Burke ordered him taken away immediately by court officers.
Harvey took this in stride better than I think I would have. He was shocked. He couldn't believe it. He just kept saying, I'm innocent, I'm innocent, I'm innocent, I'm innocent. This is not true.
Now, right now, Weinstein is at the infirmary on Rikers Island, where he may stay until his sentencing on March 11th. With this conviction, he's looking at up to 25 years behind bars.
In April 2024, Weinstein's New York rape conviction was thrown out due to procedural errors at trial. He now faces a retrial, but remains imprisoned for a separate conviction in California. And finally, in 2024, the meteoric rise of a promising actor is overshadowed by controversy.
A judge sentenced Jonathan Majors to probation and a 52-week domestic violence treatment program on Monday. He will not serve any jail time. In December, Majors was found guilty of third-degree assault and harassment for attacking his ex-girlfriend, Grace Jabari, in New York last spring. Although misdemeanors, the actor was facing up to a year in prison. The court took into account Majors having no prior criminal history.
It actually would have been a little ridiculous if they sentenced him to jail time. It would have been that they were too heavy-handed on him because of who he was. So ultimately, I think the judge here got it right.
Majors was accused of attacking Jabari and shoving her into a car during a fight last March. During the trial, Majors accused her of being the aggressor, which the jury did not buy. The verdict derailed the actor's promising career, having co-starred in hits like Creed 3, and more impactful, Marvel Studios dropped Majors from a key villain role across their franchises.
If you look at it, he's already been punished very, very significantly by what Marvel did to him by taking away his roles in their movies.
Grace Jabari read from a victim impact statement before the sentencing, accusing her ex of not fully accepting responsibility for his actions. She was also granted an order of protection.
And that's this week's Crime in the City. Subscribe for more at youtube.com/Fox5NY.